sunshine, and welcome to Yoga with Fortified Coaching. My name's Claire and I'll be taking you through your class today. So just a few little points before we get started. Just wanting to make sure that everybody is wearing comfortable clothing, that they are in a nice safe space where they can practice, plenty of room around, no hazards, no things that you're going to fall, trip over. With regards to equipment, I have a mat. If you have a mat, great. If not, just making sure that you've got somewhere where you can practice, where you're not going to fall and slide about. Optional props may be a brick or a block or a strap, not necessarily for the class, but you might need them or you might want to use them at some point. So we will be giving you options all the way through the class, so this class should be attainable for everybody. So I'll give you different options. You pick what works for you today, what works with your body. So we're going to start our class today on our back. So we'll start by mobilising and warming up a little bit. So when you're ready, we're just going to roll ourselves down onto our mats and just start by closing down the eyes. You can take your legs down flat if you like, into corpse pose, and we're just going to take a couple of moments to settle into the class. So bringing our awareness to our breath, if we can, sealing up the lips, breathing in through the nose and back out through the nose, and again in through the nose and back out. The option to set yourself a little intention for the session, just a little goal, something that you might want to get out of the class. So today's class is a vinyasa flow, quite a dynamic move and flow, concentrating on lots of different postures, stringing them together with vinyasas, with a little flow, everything joining together nice and seamlessly. And then we're going to move into a few balances, standing balances, before we cool back down and finish with a nice guided relaxation. From here, bring both of the knees up towards the chest, taking hold of them with the hands, maybe wrapping those hands around them and giving your knees a little pull in towards your chest. Option to have a little rock from side to side. At this point, try not to lift your shoulders or your head up from the mat, keeping those shoulders and head down nice and flat. Just having that little rock side to side. Keeping hold of the right knee now. Drop the left foot down to the mat. So option to take the sole of the foot onto the mat or slide that foot all the way down and flex into both feet. Maybe pulling that right knee in towards your armpit and giving your hip a little rock in one direction. Making circles with that hip joint. And in the other direction. And stop. Swapping those legs over now. Again, your options are still there. You can keep your right leg bent, or you can lie it down flat on the ground, flexing both feet and pulling that left knee up towards the left armpit, and maybe make some little circles in one direction again. And then in the other direction. Stop. Bring both knees up so your shins are parallel to the ground. Take the arms nice and wide, spreading the hands, palms up towards the sky, and just rolling those knees over towards the right hand side, trying to keep both shoulders, especially the left shoulder, pressed into the mat, and taking your gaze over your left hand. So we're looking for a nice twist all the way down from the top of the neck down to the bottom of the spine. And then rolling those knees back through centre and taking them over to the opposite side. So again, trying to keep both shoulders down, in particular the right shoulder, which might be lifting up. Excuse me. Taking your gaze over your right hand this time. and bringing the knees back again through centre. We're going to come up onto our bottoms now, so you can just sit yourself up. Option just to have a few rocks backwards and forwards, massaging through the spine, but also helping us come up to that nice seated position. Spinning the legs around now, we're going to come into a child's position, or child's pose. So we're going to take our toes to touch and walk our knees out to the side of the mat. Maybe walking them wider than the mat, sitting our bottoms down on those heels and walking our hands forward. So as you walk your hands forward, you're melting your chest down into the mat. You might only get so far down, or you might be able to continue all the way down till your head makes contact with the mat. So we're trying to get the head and the chest sink down, but also trying to push those sit-up bones down onto the heels. And maybe just have a little rock from side to side in this position. So rocking and rolling on your head, but also rolling into the hips, really helping us get into that hip stretch. And when you're ready, just settling back into that central position. Taking the hands that are in front of us into prayer, so putting our palms to touch each other. And when you're ready, bending at the elbows and bringing the thumbs to the nape of the neck or the top of the back, or as close as you can get, just so you can feel the stretch in the triceps. Bring the hands back down in front of you and just nice and gently, nice and slowly walking your way up into a tabletop position. So not coming out of this too fast. So tabletop position, we have our shoulders and wrists stacked, our hands about shoulder distance apart, and our hips and knees stacked, knees about hip distance apart. On our next inhale, we're going to swoop the right arm up towards the sky, taking the gaze with it, and as you exhale, swoop it back down again, sliding the back of the hand against the mat. Keep on going and start lowering yourself down towards the mat. So it might be that you only get so far down and you need to use a prop, like a brick, if you have one, a pillow or a towel rolled up will do, to rest your head on. Or you might get all the way down so that the cheek and the back of the right shoulder make contact with the mat. You can stay here, or if you want to add a little bit more to this, a little bit more of a back twist, take the left hand and wrap it round the back and maybe hook the fingers into the gap between your stomach and your upper thigh, kind of taking a little bit of a hold of the upper right thigh. This is quite intense on the shoulder, so if that's too much, just drop the hand back down onto the mat. Taking the weight back into that left hand, bringing yourself up, coming back into tabletop position. Onto the other side, we'll inhale, just swoop the left arm up, taking the gaze with it. Exhale to slide that hand against the mat behind the right hand, lowering ourselves down, coming down towards the mat. Option again to put your cheek on a prop or to come all the way down to the mat. And again, further option to take your right hand to wrap it round the back and hook it in that gap, taking hold of the top of the left thigh, bringing a spinal twist into this stretch. If you've got that bind, that hand hooked round, release it, bring it back down onto the mat and push through the right hand to come back up to tabletop position. We're going to go through some cycles of cat-cow, warming the spine. So in our next inhale, we're going to drop the belly, lift the tailbone, lift the chest and lift the gaze to the sky. Exhale to arch the back, pulling the belly button up towards the spine, tucking the tailbone, tucking the shoulder, gaze down between the knees. Inhale, drop that belly, lift that gaze and tailbone. And exhale, arching that back, tucking the tailbone, gaze down between the knees. And continue this with your breath as you breathe in, gaze up, breathe out, gaze down between the knees, and just following your own breath pattern. not having to keep in time with me, just going in your own time. And as you're doing this, it is quite normal to start feeling some little bits in your back, your shoulders, your hips that maybe need a little bit more attention. So feel free to move intuitively into the shoulders, into the back, into the hips, just doing whatever feels good so that we're mobilised into that spine, any point of the spine. If you're not happy doing that, just keep on going with those cat-cows. And when you're ready, just come into stillness. In a vinyasa, we do an awful lot of downward facing dog, so we do need to be warm into our wrists. So we're going to start by making some circles over the wrists. So in one direction, we're rolling forward and round and back. Either direction is fine. And just changing that direction. From here, we're just going to do some little mini press-ups with our wrists. So just coming up and lifting the heel of the hand off the mat, so putting the weight into the fingers and lowering back down. Coming up again and back down. Couple more. And stop. Final stretching of our wrists, just taking the left hand and placing the back of the hand on the mat. So palm is facing up, fingertips are facing down towards your knees, and just apply a little bit of pressure into that wrist, getting a lovely stretch into the forearm. And just putting that left hand back down onto the mat. Now onto the right, so putting the back of the right hand against the mat, palm facing up, fingers pointing down towards your knees. And release. So we're going to go into our vinyasa, sequence. So we're going to start by going through our 3 different levels of vinyasa. So this bit that we're going to do now is what strings together our postures. You work with what feels right for you. You can pick a level and stick with it, or you can change from 1 to 2 to 3, back down again, or you can have a bit of 1 with a bit of 2 with a bit of 3. Just go with what feels right. If at any point you do need to have a little breather, take a child's pose, just compose yourself, have a few breaths, and whenever you're ready, join back in with the group, with the class. And also we will, every cycle or every round with our vinyasa, we'll be meeting back in downward facing dog, and we'll have a few breaths there. So don't worry about your speed, your pace. We'll always have the opportunity to come back and meet in the same place, so nobody will be getting left behind. So we're going to start our vinyasa in our downward facing dog. So going back to that tabletop position that we were in for our warm up. So shoulders and wrists, hips and knees stacked. Just walk your hands forward an inch or 2, spread the fingers nice and wide, tuck the toes, and on your next exhale, lift up, pushing the hips towards the sky. So it's our first one, so just here, have a few movements, move however feels good. That could be moving your head side to side, wriggling into the shoulders, wriggling into the hips, padding out through the feet. Just settling into this posture, and make a mental note of how this downward facing dog feels right now. We'll check in again and see how it feels at the end of our flow. So looking at our technique here, what we're aiming for initially, we've got our hand placement sorted, but we're trying to sink our chest, melt it down towards the mat or down towards our thighs. So we're trying to achieve as much as possible a straight line from our wrists all the way up to our bottom. So sinking that chest down is really important. The legs may well have a bend in them, or you might be working towards straightening out through the legs. I'd rather your legs had a bend in them and you had good shape with your back, that your chest was melted down, rather than forcing your legs straight, compromising the back, leaning forward in such a way. Don't worry if there's a bend in the legs. We're also working towards melting the heels down towards the mat. And they may not be there now, they might get closer by the end of the class, they might not. That's absolutely fine. It's all progress. All of our bodies work differently. So this is our downward facing dog. So going through our 3 different levels of vinyasa. If you come with me and we'll go through level 1 together. So from here, we're going to roll forward into a high plank. But we're going to drop the knees and uncurl the toes. So in our plank, we're looking to achieve a straight line all the way from the shoulders to the point of contact on the ground. That applies in level 1, 2, 3. Wherever your knees touch, just try not to sink the hips or lift the bum too high. From here, we're going to chaturanga down to the mat. So chaturanga, we're going to nip our elbows in towards our ribs and lower ourselves nice and controlled down to the mat. From here, on our inhale, we're going to come into a little back bend. So in option 1, little baby cobra. So just lifting the chest off the mat, not putting too much weight through the hands, using the muscles in the back to do a lot of the lifting. On our exhale, we're going to lower our chest, tuck our toes, sit back into child's pose, and then lift the hips up into downward facing dog. So that is option 1. Option 2 has some similarities to 1. If you are happy with sticking with 1 and you know you're going to stay with 1, just come through option 1 with us as we demonstrate 2. So rolling forward into that plank, again taking the knees down and tucking the toes. Exhale to chaturanga or lower ourselves down to the mat. Inhale into a back bend. So this time the back bend is a bit bigger. We are in a full cobra as opposed to the baby cobra. So a little bit more weight through the hands this time, making sure that the shoulders are rolled back and down. We aren't hunching the shoulders up next to our ears. More of our body is lifted here. Our gaze is forward or slightly up. On our exhale, lower down to the mat again, tuck the toes but miss out the child's pose. Lift the hips straight up into downward facing dog. So that was our option 2. Option 3, the more challenging one, definitely. We're going to roll forward into that plank, not drop the knees. We're going to chaturanga by nipping those elbows in and lowering down. Option to hover or to come down to the mat. Whichever option you've taken. On our inhale, we're coming up into a back bend. So that could be the higher level of upward facing dog. So upward facing dog, same principles with the shoulders. We're not hunching them up, but we're putting our weight through the hands and the backs of the feet. Gaze definitely up at the corner of the room on this one. On our exhale, we're not lowering back down to the mat. We're lifting the hips straight up and rolling over the toes, straight into downward facing dog. So we've had a go at them. You pick your level. You might start with a lower level as you're warming up a little bit more, or you might jump straight into the high level. That's completely up to you. So from here, we're going to lift our right leg to the sky, 3-legged dog. So here we're really trying not to roll over, to keep the weight evenly distributed through both hands, not to roll the hips. The hips are square. It's not just about how high your leg is, it's about keeping the square shoulders, the square hips. On your exhale, roll forward and bring that right foot between the hands. You might be able to do that with one nice big step, or you might need to shuffle your foot and give it a hand. Drop the back knee and uncurl the toe. Inhale, just swoop the arms up. So we're in a low lunge here, nice and tall in the spine, gaze ahead, slightly tucking the tailbone under, bringing that stretch into the left hip. And from here, if you can, just lean back a little bit, baby back bend, gaze up towards the sky. Coming forward, planting the hands either side of the right foot, tucking the toe, lifting the knee, step that right foot back and work through our vinyasa. So chaturanga down to the mat. Inhale into your back bend of choice and exhale, coming into downward facing dog, making your way there whichever way you've decided upon. Onto the other side now. inhale to lift the left leg to the sky, remembering keeping the weight balanced between the hands, hips nice and square. Exhale to roll forward, stepping that left foot between the hands, dropping the back knee, uncurling the toe. And inhale to swoop the arms up, remembering that little tuck of the tailbone. And if you want, little back bend, leaning back, gaze up towards the sky. Coming forward, planting those hands back down, tucking the toe, lifting the knee, stepping that left foot back. And again, work through the vinyasa. So chaturanga, inhale into back bend. And exhale into downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. And this is what we'll do between having a repetition on each side, just to make sure everybody gets to meet in the same position before we move on to the next section. Back onto the right side now. So inhale to lift that right leg to the sky. Exhale to step it forward between the hands, this time not dropping the back knee. Inhale to bring the arms up into a high lunge. So you're on the ball of the back foot. Principles are the same in that your tailbone is tucked under. We try to stack the knee over the ankle. Chest nice and tall. Arms up, palms facing each other, gaze straight ahead. From here, plant your left hand down next to your right foot and inhale to take the right arm up towards the sky, revolved twist. Holding this here for 3, for 2, for 1. Plant the right hand back down, stepping that right foot back and working through a vinyasa. So chaturanga, down to the mat. Inhale into back bend and exhale into downward facing dog. Onto the other side now. Inhale to lift that left leg to the sky. Exhale to step it forward, not dropping that back knee. Inhaling again to come into that high lunge, balancing on the ball of the back foot, nice and tall in the spine, hips tucked under, gaze straight ahead. Take the right hand down next to the left foot and inhale, just swoop that left arm up, taking the gaze with it to make a nice twist in the spine. Holding this here for 3, for 2, for 1. Plant that left hand back down, step the left foot back and we'll work through our vinyasa. So chaturanga, down to the mat. Inhale, back bend, and exhale, downward facing dog. Again, 3 nice full breaths in and breaths out in this posture. Back to the right side now. So inhale to lift that right leg up to the sky. Exhale to step it or wiggle it through. And from here we're going to inhale and twist on that back foot to come into warrior 1. So warrior 1, our warrior feet here. So we have our front foot, our right foot facing towards the short edge of the mat. The back foot is at 45 degrees to the front foot, looking to make sure we've got the heel of the front foot and the arch of the back foot lined up. Our knee should be stacked over our ankle. Try and rotate that knee back so we can see the big toe. Hips are tracking in the direction of the right knee, so they're straight forward. And our arms are up next to our ears, palms facing each other, gaze to the short edge of the mat. Hold this for 3, for 2, for 1. Take the hands down, framing that foot, pivot on the back foot, step right back to meet left and work through our vinyasa. So chaturanga, back bend, meeting a downward facing dog. Onto the left side now, so inhale to take that left leg up towards the sky. Exhale to step the foot through, and inhale to come up into warrior one. So again, checking that technique, you've got your knee over your ankle, left foot tracking forward, right foot at 45 degrees, heel and arch in line. You can still see your big toe, hips are tracking in the direction of the left leg, arms up either side of the ears. And again, we'll hold it here for 3 breaths, for 2, and for 1. Hands swoop down, framing the left foot, stepping it back to meet the right, and work through a vinyasa. Remember, and pick your level, whatever suits you. Inhale into back bend, and lifting the hips to the sky to come into downward facing dog. Onto the right side again. So inhale to lift that right leg, remembering still to keep the hips squared, technique is still good. Swoop that foot forward and inhale back up into warrior one. So remember that twist of the back foot, hips tracking over that right knee, taking the hands to clasp behind the back, pulling your shoulders together. Inhale to lengthen through the spine, and exhale to start leaning forward, humble warrior. So what we're doing here is we're hovering the right shoulder just over the edge of that right knee. We're not leaning on it, we're looking down to our toes. Hands might be quite low, or you might be able to start lifting them up and over the top. Nice and high, depends upon your shoulder mobility, but we'll hold it here for 3, for 2, for 1. Coming back up again, releasing the hands, framing the front foot, and stepping the right back to meet the left to go through vinyasa. Chaturanga, back bend, lifting the hips up into downward facing dog. Inhale now to lift the left leg to the sky. Exhale to step it through the centre. And inhale to come up into that warrior one. So just checking all your technique points there. Foot placement, hip placement, gaze straight ahead. Take those hands behind the back again, clasp them. If you can't quite reach the hands together, you could use a strap, anything, bit of rope, dressing gown cord, just to create a little bit of distance. Inhale to lengthen through the spine, and exhale to take a bow, humble warrior. So just floating that left shoulder over the left knee. And if you can, gaze down to the toes, arms over the top. If you can't do that with your mobility, just keep them behind you, that's fine. Holding it there for 3, for 2, for 1. Raising back up with the chest, release the hands, plant them down either side of the left foot, and step that foot back and work through our vinyasa. So chaturanga, back bend, and coming back your way into downward facing dog. 3 breaths here just to settle. Try to keep the breath in through the nose and out through the nose. Creating breath which is an equal length in and out. Back onto the right side now. So inhale to lift that right leg to the sky. Exhale to sweep it through, stepping between the hands. Inhale up into warrior one. Exhale to twist to the front into warrior two. So we change the placement of our hips. Our hips are now tracking forward and our arms are different. They are out, palms down, gaze over the front of the right fingers. Drop just a little bit into that front knee. A little bit low with the hips, holding this for 3 breaths, for 2 breaths, and for 1. Windmill the hands around, frame that right foot, pivot on the back foot, step the right foot back and come through your vinyasa. Chaturanga, back bend, hips to the sky, into downward facing dog. Onto the left side, so inhale to raise that foot up, exhale to sweep it forward, inhale up into warrior 1, exhale twisting into warrior 2. So again, changing the placement of the direction of the hips, changing the hands, palms down, gaze over left fingers, and again drop a tad into that left knee, dropping the hips a little bit, nice and tall in the body, holding it for 3 breaths, for 2, for 1. Windmilling the hands around, stepping that left foot back and working through our vinyasa. Chaturanga, back bend, and meeting in downward facing dog. Building again slightly, so onto the right side, inhale to lift that leg to the sky. Exhale to swoop it forward, stepping through the middle. Inhale, bringing the arms up, warrior 1. Exhale, twisting round into warrior 2. And we're going to reverse that warrior. So what we'll do is we'll reach forward with the right hand as if a piece of string is pulling us, keeping the leg placement the same until we can't reach any further. Then taking the right hand, left hand onto the left leg and reach over. So we're reversing that warrior. So you try to create a C shape with the spine. You're reaching up and over, keeping that shoulder rolled back. Option to remove the hand and wrap it around your back. So the hand off the thigh can come round your back if you wish. Gaze up towards the sky. Coming back now into warrior 2. Keep on windmilling the hands around to frame that front foot. Step it back and go through a vinyasa. Chaturanga, back bend, hips to the sky, into downward facing dog. Opposite side now, so inhale to lift that left leg. Exhale to swoop the foot forward through the middle. Inhale, dropping that back heel into warrior 1. Exhale, twisting round, opening up into warrior 2. Again, we're going to reach like a piece of strings, pulling us by the left hand forward. And then we can't go any further. C-shape the spine, reaching up and over, gaze looking towards the sky. Option, again, to remove that right hand. Wrap it round the back, maybe take hold of the top of the left thigh if you can. Holding this for 3, for 2, for 1. Back into warrior 2. Continue round to frame the front foot, stepping it back and coming through a vinyasa. So chaturanga, back bend, coming back into that downward facing dog. Taking 3 nice steady in breaths again, just here. Back onto the right side now, so inhale to lift that right leg to the sky. Exhale to step the foot through the centre. Inhale, drop the heel, warrior 1. Exhale, warrior 2. Again, leaning and reversing that warrior. And we're going to come into an extended side angle. So taking the elbow to the knee and inhale to reach the left hand up and over. Nice big stretch, trying to create a straight line from the little toe of the left foot all the way to the fingertips of the right hand. Gaze up under your armpit. Holding this here for 3, for 2, for 1. Coming back up momentarily into that warrior 2 before we windmill the hands around. Step the right foot back and work through the vinyasa. So chaturanga, back bend into downward facing dog. Onto the left side. So inhale to lift that left leg up. Exhale to swoop it forward. Inhale, drop the heels, lift the arms, warrior 1. Exhale, open it up into warrior 2, keeping nice and low in those hips. Inhale, reverse that warrior, reaching forward, over, gaze towards the sky. From here, we'll take the left elbow to the left knee and inhale to swoop that arm up and over. Again, trying to make that nice straight line from the little toe of the right foot to the right fingertips, gaze up towards the sky. Holding this for 3, for 2, for 1. Coming back up, lifting the torso into warrior 2 before framing that front foot, stepping it back and working through our vinyasa. So chaturanga, back bend, downward facing dog. We have one more on each side. Inhale to lift that right leg. Exhale to step it forward. Inhale, turning on that foot, warrior 1. Exhale, twisting into warrior 2. Inhale, reach forward, reverse that warrior. Taking the elbow to the knee and inhaling, swooping the arm up and over, extended side angle. From here, come back up into warrior 2. Straighten that front leg and turn the toes so they're facing forward or slightly in. Nice wide stance. From here, we're going to go into a forward fold. So inhale to stretch the arms up and over the head. And exhale to hinge at the waist, bending forward. If you need to, you can put your hands to your hips. Otherwise, keep on carrying down as low as you can, taking your hands either to a brick or to the floor. And what we want to do here is put our weight into the balls of our feet as opposed to our heels. So really shifting that weight forward, feeling the stretch in the backs of the legs. If you wish, you can walk your hands back a little bit further between the legs, just to enhance and add to this stretch a little bit. Holding it here for 3 breaths, for 2, for 1. Walk the hands back through centre if you had them behind. Take your hands to your hips, and on your next in-breath, nice and controlled, bring it back up to standing, twist into that right foot, bend into the knee, back into warrior 2. From here, windmilling those hands around to frame that front foot, stepping it back and coming through your vinyasa. So chaturanga, back bend, hips to the sky, downward facing dog. Onto the left, last side in your vinyasa. Inhale to lift that left leg to the sky. Exhale to step it through. Inhale, drop the back heel, warrior 1. Exhale, twisting round into warrior 2. inhale, reach forward, and then flip it over in your reverse warrior. Exhale, take your elbow to your knee, and inhale, swoop the arm up and over, extended side angle. From here, again, come back to warrior two, straighten into the front knee and turn the feet so they're facing forwards or slightly in. I'm going to do a slightly different variation of a forward fold here, so if you can, clasp your hands behind your back. If not, again, you've got the option to use a strap to create a little bit of distance if you can't meet them, if you struggle with your shoulder mobility, or just stick with the first option if you need to. So nice wide stance, inhale to lengthen through the spine, and exhale to hinge forward, taking the arms up and over if you can. So again, still having the weight through the balls of the feet here. And we'll hold this here for 3 breaths, for 2, and for 1. Keep the hands clasped. On your next inhale, start bringing yourself up, nice and controlled. When we get to standing, release those hands, bend back into that left foot to come into warrior two for a moment, before windmilling the hands around to frame that left foot, stepping it back and coming through your vinyasa. So chaturanga, back bend, back into downward facing dog. And just as we're having our 3 breaths here, just check in. Just think about how your body feels now compared to the first downward facing dog we did of the class. Hopefully we feel that our legs might be a bit straighter, our chest might have melted down a little bit, maybe our heels are slightly closer towards the mat. Hopefully we feel like we've created a little bit more space in the body. From here, take your gaze towards your hands and options to walk, step or jump the feet in to the top of the mat towards your hands into a forward fold. So you could have a good bend in your leg for your forward fold, that's absolutely fine. Hang the head heavy, don't crane the neck, don't be lifting the head, gaze down between your legs, or you might start straightening out a little bit into your legs if you've got the space. Fingers might be on your shins, your ankles, your feet, the floor. And from here we're going to breathe in and flatten our backs. Options to have fingertips to the mat or hands to the shins. Gaze slightly ahead, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flatten through the back, and exhale, forward fold. One more, inhale, flat back, exhale, forward fold. And when you're ready, we're just going to start rolling up to standing vertebrae by vertebrae with your head coming up last. Give those legs a little shake out. Well done, everyone. So that is us through our floor. We're going to have a bit of a play now with a couple of balances. So as ever with our balances, you'll have good days and bad days with your balances. Some days you'll absolutely nail it, other days you'll be bubbly. It also depends upon what floor you're on as well. If you've got a softer floor, like a carpet, sometimes it is a little bit more challenging than on a hard floor like a wooden floor or tiles. But if you fall out of it, it's fine, just have a go. If you do fall out of it, just shake yourself off and join us back in again to try another time. So the first one we're going to have a go at is a dancer's pose. So standing on your mat, what we're going to do, we're going to start by taking the weight into the right leg. So start shifting that weight a little bit, and when you're ready, bring the left foot up as if you're going into a quad stretch, so taking hold of the back of the foot. Take your hand out in front of you, and when you're ready, start trying to lean the weight forward. Now you might get a tiny little bit, or you might be able to keep on going, and as we lean forward, kick that foot into your hand. The more you keep the foot into your hand, the higher you lift your leg. And if we're here, whatever level we're at, we hold this for 3, for 2, for 1. And coming back up and releasing. Well done. So these are all good ones to have a bit of a practice with outside of class. Definitely worth having a go at. You might feel totally different doing it if you're not fatigued after having done a floor. So you have a play outside of class and then bring it to your next one. Onto the other side now. So taking the weight onto the left foot this time. Getting your balance, bringing your right foot up into your hand. And when you're ready, take that left hand out in front of you and start hinging at the waist. And kicking that foot into your hand to get a little bit of height. And once you're where you want to be, holding this for 3, for 2, and for 1. Nice and controlled if we can, coming back up, releasing that foot, giving the legs a little shake. So well done if you had a go at that. Other things you can do is you can kind of practice it next to a wall or a door or something that you can hold on to a bit more steady, just to build your confidence up, because sometimes with the balances it is a little bit to do with confidence. We're going to have a quick go at another couple of ones that we have done in previous classes and previous recordings, just because if you have done them, you might want to have a try and see how you've progressed since doing them before. So we're going to have a go at a crow pose. So how we're going to do this is we're going to come into a yogi squat. So a nice wide squat. I'll show you front on. So legs are nice and wide. I'll do it this way, you might get a better view of it actually, then I'll do it from the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my arms down and I'm going to push my knees into my triceps. So my triceps are there, tucked right in. I'm placing my hands about shoulder distance apart, fingers spread nice and wide. And I'm going to come onto my toes. So starting to take the weight over the shoulders. So that might be enough. That might be enough for you. You might feel, yeah, that's definitely some work on my shoulders. You might want to try lifting one foot, the other foot. Another option is to stand on a brick and do it. If we do this, it actually takes more weight into our shoulders to practice. So after lifting one foot and the other foot, we might be trying for a little bit of air time. So we might start lifting the toes up for a second, coming back down. And each time, maybe it's getting a little bit longer in duration. You might be able to hold it for longer. You might be able to bring the toes to touch. So your gaze is looking down towards the ground here. And if you're there, we'll hold it for 3 breaths, for 2, and for 1. Well done. Again, another one to practice outside of class. If you do lots of it, I must say you do end up with quite sore triceps if you do too many of them in a day. The last one we're going to have a little play with before we go into our relaxation is a headstand. Now I know some people did try that in an earlier class, but we'll go through the technique for it again. So the options with your headstand is your hand placement quite often. So some people prefer to do it on the elbows, some people prefer to do it on the hands. But generally what we're trying to do is create a tripod, a triangle. It's a steady base for us to balance on. So I like to do it with my hands as opposed to my elbows. So what I'm going to start by doing, place my head down on the mat and place my hands so I've got that nice steady triangle, and come on the toes. Start walking the toes in. This might be enough for you. You might start wanting to lift one leg, keep in contact with one foot. That might be enough. Or you might be able to start lifting the toes a little bit. And then your final option is lifting the legs up, trying to really stabilise through the core. You can do this, I would always say when practicing, with a wall or a door behind you. It really increases your confidence. And if you're in your headstand, again, we'll hold it for 3 breaths, for 2 breaths, and for 1. If you're here, nice and controlled if you can, bringing those legs down to the mat, coming onto your knees and rolling up. So hopefully you'll have had a go at that. If you haven't cracked it, these are all things for you to take away. You'll get it on your goals, being able to do a headstand. We're going to now roll ourselves back down onto our mat. So just lowering ourselves down, and we're just going to do a final few stretches. So first what we're going to do is we're going to take our right foot and place it over the left knee, so the ankle of the right foot is on the left knee. Push that right knee out, and when you're ready, thread your hands through the gap, pulling the left leg in towards you. Trying, if you can, to keep your shoulder blades down on the mat, and if you've got a little bit more space left of the body, maybe just wrapping the hands around the front of the left shin. That brings it in even closer, really deepening this stretch. Release that leg, place the left foot back down on the mat, swapping it over. So now putting the left foot, left ankle over the right knee, pushing that left knee out and threading the hands through the gap again, pulling the right knee in towards you. Again, your options there to take hold of the shin if you want. I can instantly feel that my left hip's tighter than my right, but I'm trying to do the same on both to try and create a bit of balance within the body. And release. I'm going to take both of my feet up towards the sky, and I'm going to cross my right leg over the left. Place the arms out, nice and flat, with the palms facing towards the sky. Bending into both knees here, so I don't have to have both the legs straight, and roll the legs over to the right hand side. So it's another stretch, spinal twist, a bit like we did at the beginning, but a little bit deeper. I'm going to take my gaze over to my left hand, pressing both the shoulders down into the mat. So I get a much deeper stretch doing it this way. Roll those knees back through centre, unravel them, and this time take the right leg over the left. Again, bend into both knees and roll my legs over to the left hand side. Gaze over my right hand. And rolling back through centre, taking both of the feet up towards the sky, nice wide stance, and I'm going to take hold of my feet here from the inside or the outside, doesn't matter which side, and just give me knees a little hug in towards the armpits, really trying to keep the lower back pressed into the mat, and just have a little rock side to side for our happy baby. So we're trying not to lift the shoulders or the lower back here to get a really good stretch into those hamstrings and hips. And when you're ready, just releasing through the legs, coming into our Shavasana. So coming into corpse pose, so straightening the legs out on the mat, widening the stance, so your feet are probably about the width of the mat. Flop those feet outwards, taking the arms down by the side, palms facing the sky. Option to maybe tuck the shoulders under the back just a little bit, chin slightly tucked, and close the eyes down. Again, there are options, so if you suffer with your lower back, you might want to bend your knees up Take the feet wider than hip distance apart and just flop the knees in towards each other so they rest against one another. Better option if you do have a bad back. Again, whichever option you're in, just taking the eyes closed, taking your awareness back to your breath, just like we did at the beginning of our practice. So I'm just going to take you through a short body scan, short relaxation. So we'll begin by taking a body scan of your internal landscape and how that looks and feels today in this present moment. As we scan, make no judgments on what you find. We're not going to change anything. We're just honestly checking in with how we feel today. Observing and just noticing the sensations in the body. Begin by noticing the feet, dropping the awareness to the opposite end of the body. We spend so much of our days in our minds. Let's really feel the feet right now. What do you find here? Drawing the awareness to the interior of the feet. How do they feel? Name the sensations. Can you feel any tingling or slight movements of energy? Or maybe there's nothing, just a numb sensation. Now draw the gaze internally to the legs. Notice the full volume of the legs. How do your legs feel? If they can relax a little deeper, give them permission to rest a little heavier and let them roll out. Feel the torso now with a sense of curiosity, like you're discovering a new place. Scan from the pelvis up to the shoulders and just see what you find here in this moment. If the mind's wandered, that's fine, that's what it does. Just gently guide it back to where we want the focus to be right now, which is in the torso. Adjust the focus to your arms now. Feel your awareness filling the space from your shoulders to your fingertips. Notice the quality of the energy you hold in the palms of your hands today. Move the focus to your head now. Inhabit the full space in the head, from the crown of the head to the base of the skull. Reach the awareness to the sides of the head, noticing the space between the ears. Widen your lens to your entire body as a whole. And when you're ready, just come back to that breath. Take a full inhalation deep into your belly and exhale slowly to release. So bringing the awareness back into the room, maybe start introducing a few movements into your body. They could be very small, they could be in the fingers, the toes, the hands, the feet. Just do what feels good. You might require a full body stretch, stretching the arms and the legs out, just moving however feels right at the moment. When you're ready, just roll onto one side, gently bring yourselves up into a comfortable seated position. And here we'll just gently close our eyes and take a few final breaths of the class together. Nice deep breaths, so breathing in through the nose and letting it go. Again, breathing in and release. Final breath, breathing it in and letting it go. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed your practice and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Namaste.